Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Fantasy Football edition of Three High Safeties. I am Kevin Cole. I am joined by PFF fantasy experts Ian Hartitz and Andrew Erickson. Okay, a lot to digest this week. I'm going to start with what we want to do as far as players who were fading, players who were buying this week, sit-start questions. I'm going to go to you first, Ian. Is there one particular player you love this week and another that you may be down on versus the market?
Yeah, one guy I think we need to start, just accepting that he is a, high-end or at least, moderately high-end fantasy factor this year is Raiders quarterback Derek Carr. We've seen a newfound ceiling from him in the passing game this year. He already has 5 games with at least 250 yards and multiple passing touchdowns. He only had 4 such games in 2019 and only 3 such games in 2018 and 2017. So truly, you added Ruggs. We got Darren Waller, year 2 chemistry. It's been a good passing attack. It wasn't that long ago that we saw them march into Arrowhead, not only come out with a win, but come out with a 40-point explosion. So you look at this matchup against the Chargers, a great defense when they're healthy, pretty far from healthy at the moment. We know they can put up points too. So the last 4 games the Chargers have been involved in, it's been 69 points, 57 points, 68 points, and most recently 61. Fully expecting the Raiders and the Chargers to put up all sorts of points this week, have Derek Carr in those fantasy lineups. Guy I'm sitting is going to be Melvin Gordon. He had a workhorse role while Phillip Lindsay was sidelined. Lindsay is back, and accordingly, we've seen them, delve into more of a 50-50 committee split. Maybe the reason he got so much work last week was because of that revenge game against the Chargers too, because my goodness, Gordon is playing awful this year. 135 players have at least 25 targets. Melvin Gordon is dead last with just 3 yards per target. So I really wouldn't be surprised if we see this backfield shift to Lindsay at some point. Gordon has been that bad more weeks than not. Either way, a 50-50 back and a volatile offense like the Broncos can't have that.
All right, well, I'll talk about a guy that's actually been productive with his targets, and that's Matt Breida, who's looking at the potential to be the starting running back this week with Myles Gaskin sidelined with an MCL injury for at least the next 3 weeks. The Miami Dolphins went and traded for DeAndre Washington, but he's not likely going to be active in this game due to the new protocols in place when you get new players on teams. So it looks like it's going to be the Matt Breida show against the Arizona Cardinals. Not going to buy into any of this Jordan Howard, getting workload. Again, Howard could, work in at the goal line and vulture a touchdown. But again, we're scraping at the barrel right now to try to figure out what we can do at running back. So I think Matt Breida is in a really good spot this week. If he's available on waiver wire, so you go at him. But the Cardinals present a really good matchup this week. In 7 games played this year, they've allowed double-digit fantasy points to 7 different opposing running backs. And Breida offers upside as a receiver. We talked about Melvin Gordon, how he hasn't been efficient. That's kind of been the complete opposite of Matt Breida. So Matt Breida this year has PFF's 17th ranked PFF grade, receiving grade, 73.9. He has 100% completion percentage. He's catching all of his targets, 11.3 yards per reception, which ranks 6th. And his yards after the catch per reception also ranks very highly as well. So again, at worst, Matt Breida is going to at least get the pass game work, which is what you want out of your running back position. So I think Matt Breida is a solid start this week. On the other side, DJ Chark, I am not buying into this Jake Luton love that, he's going to be better with the 6th-round rookie. The chances of the Jacksonville Jaguars hitting on back-to-back 6th-round quarterback being NFL caliber quarterbacks in back-to-back drafts, I'm not buying it. I just can't buy into the fact that Jake Luton is going to come in and just deliver, balls downfield, and that's where DJ Chark thrives. So again, my research shows that Jake Luton has basically been more of an Alex Smith type of game manager, check down guy, which I think really looks better for a player like Laviska Shenault. So I'm fading DJ Chark this week.
Yeah, my guy that I'm going to start is Antonio Brown in his first instance where he can be started. I mean, we've seen the lack of chemistry with Mike Evans, a lot of injury concerns, what may be going on with Chris Godwin. So I don't think I think it's a good chance that he's going to come in and be very active in his first week. I mean, we don't have a lot of data to go on with his relationship with Tom Brady, but what we saw for the Patriots last week is, he came in, basically off of the street. He came in with very little time to prepare. He led the team in targets in his one game, and that was in a game that featured Josh Gordon, that featured Julian Edelman, that featured James White. He only caught half of those 8 targets that he had in that game, but he still got a touchdown and a decent amount of yards. So I think he's going to just fit well with that offense, and I'm going to start him confidently right out the gates in week 1. I'm going to stick with the Buccaneers here, and I'm just going to say in that backfield, in particular, Ronald Jones, I just don't know what to do with it. We saw it transition. It was basically a 50-50 split, but the way that it ran down was after that fumble from Jones, it almost transitioned entirely over to Fournette. And, there's Tom Brady and there's his circle of trust, people are going to talk about. It may be overhyped a little bit, but it's just difficult to see which way that backfield is going to go this week. So I think if you have Jones and you have another option that you can put in there, especially with some players injured and a lot of people who are emerging as potential guys that you can plug in this week, I might look to do that rather than take the risk with Jones.
Great circle of trust. Shout out, Kevin. So guys, look, I understand that, you have guys on your roster already that you're starting sitting, but obviously there's some players out there that maybe you're admiring from a distance. You want to get them on your roster sooner rather than later. Andrew, who is someone that you're targeting in the trade market right now?
Yeah, so I got a trade offer the other day. I had Joe Mixon on my squad and someone offered me Kareem Hunt for him straight up. And I looked at it and I was like, hey, I think this is a trade I really want to get. And I just started trying to trade Joe Mixon for as many Kareem Hunt shares as I possibly could across leagues. Just looking at, their two schedules, Kareem Hunt has the 6th best remaining schedule for running backs for the rest of the season, while Joe Mixon has the 32nd. It's the absolute worst. He has to play Pittsburgh twice. So Joe Mixon, again, we're still not sure what his injury status is. That's up in question. Bernard and Samaje Perine have gotten involved and have looked pretty good in replacement of Mixon. So there's no guarantee that he's just going to go back to seeing, around that 25 or more touch workload every single week. So I'm really concerned about Joe Mixon for the rest of the season. And I think Kareem Hunt, he disappointed. We thought that he was going to blow up without Nick Chubb, but based on a fantasy points per game basis, he's actually been worse than he was with Nick Chubb in the offense. And I don't know if necessarily that's because of him playing poorly. Again, he's had a couple tough matchups. But I think one of the biggest things that's overlooked is, the Browns haven't had starting guard Wyatt Teller. He's PFF's highest graded run blocker this season. He's going to be coming back for them after the bye week, and Chubb is going to be back as well. So again, I'm not too concerned about the workload. I think that Hunt can actually probably be a little bit more efficient, maybe on a smaller workload, even with Chubb back. So I really like buying Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, for me, I think it's going to be the Eagles and specifically pass catchers. I like Miles Sanders also, and I like the idea of buying guys who are on their bye this week that others may be selling if they're in desperation. But I think especially with the wide receivers, when you look at whether it's Travis Fulgham, who has been the #1 wide receiver since he started in week 4 in fantasy football, there's going to be some touchdown regression there, but I think that he has a very, very solid role. The targets have been there. And then also Jalen Reagor, who had over a 20% target share last week. In particular, if you look at the schedule when they come off of their bye next week, it's Giants, Browns, Seahawks, Packers, Saints, Cardinals, Cowboys. That's it for the rest of the season. That's the stretch you're going to go into, and that's the stretch that's going to decide who wins fantasy championships this year. I'm going to want to have an Eagles pass catcher, especially with the context that you have Dallas Goedert, who's a little bit banged up, and you have Zach Ertz, and we don't know how effective he's going to be coming back from injury. There's a lot of targets to be had there. So I think those receivers, while we normally are not too high on Eagles receivers, without Deshaun Jackson there, I think those two guys could emerge as solid options on that team, and those are guys you're going to want to trade for right now.
Yeah, certainly a nice schedule. I have another wide receiver, which I love in part because of the nice schedule coming up, and that is Jerry Jeudy of the Denver Broncos. In his rookie year, he's impressed with his route running, but we just really haven't seen all that much fancy production at this point. But you look at this, kind of finishing stretch we got going on with Denver. 6th softest remaining schedule at the wide receiver position. We got the Falcons, Raiders, Dolphins, Saints, Chiefs, Panthers, Bills, and Chargers up into Championship Sunday. I understand not every single one of those games is a cakewalk, but if he gets to these 10 targets like he had last week in the first game with Tim Patrick sideline with a hamstring injury, he might have enough volume to overcome that. So truly do think Jeudy, by the end of this year or next year, pretty soon, we're going to look back at this wide receiver class. Maybe not say he's the single best wide receiver. We got guys like Justin Jefferson, Chase Claypool making great plays, but I certainly think he'll be in that conversation. Best is yet to come for Jerry Jeudy. Wouldn't be the first time we've seen a rookie, have a stronger second half than the first half of the season. Drew Lock has the single highest average target depth in the league right now, so we're getting fantasy-friendly downfield opportunities for Jeudy. And again, I just think the best is still to come against anyone's idea of a soft schedule. So, hey, maybe you're in a smaller redraft league where he's even available on the waiver wire. Get Jerry Jeudy on those rosters, everyone, before the big games come.
Jerry Jeudy going to win somebody $1 million this week. I can't wait, but we can wait. You can play some DFS on Thursday Night Football. Green Bay Packers at the San Francisco 49ers. And we've got a whole ton of value on this slate because we have Green Bay running backs that are priced at the bottom dollar, Tyler Irving and Dexter Williams. I look at the way this slate is set up. This makes it really easy to fit in all your studs. I feel like you need to play Devontae Adams. You need to play Aaron Rodgers. That stack has to be an essential lock across the board. And then it depends on who you end up bringing it back with the 49ers. So I really like McKinnon and Hasty. I think that a Mullins-McKinnon stack is pretty interesting based on the fact that McKinnon's used more as a pass catching and Hasty's going to be the, early down back. So I really like that. But I honestly don't mind jamming in both Packers running backs if we don't get any more information about who is going to be the starter. They're both so cheap and they let you get in every single stud that you want for the Packers and for the 49ers. So that's kind of the approach I'm taking. Kevin, I know you love these backup running backs in DFS Showdown.
Yeah, those guys are pretty obvious, so I think that's going to be an interesting play. my main man, JaMychal Hasty. I'm sure he's going to be out there a lot. I mean, I'm looking a little bit more on the pass catchers. I think they're, like you said, the value stuff is fairly obvious. But I'm looking at the Niners and I'm thinking, I know people are going to be fairly high on Brandon Ayuk for the fact that Deebo Samuel's not going to play, no George Kittle, but I think I may still be higher than market on him. He had a 28% target share 2 weeks ago. He was about 26% last week. He's been leading them in routes run amongst the wide receivers. And I just feel like this could be an opportunity for a blow up spot when we do not have George Kittle there. And we have, a team that's probably going to be could be trailing significantly in part of this game. So I think for him, we haven't seen the super upside that he could potentially have in this offense. And I think this is the week where I would be betting on him in tournaments and showdown tournaments to be, your captain selection, someone who could lead you to victory this week.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if Ayuk kind of sees his rushing production maybe get a little bump. They were using him a little bit more in that role earlier in the season when Deebo Samuel was initially still playing banged up. Just quickly on the running back positions, I'm with you guys. Their values, I think everyone realizes that. But I do think we need to recognize that Tyler Ervin is a superior play to Dexter Williams, and JaMychal Hasty is likely the better play to Jerick McKinnon. With Ervin, 104 out of his 108 snaps this season have been out wide receiver. He's a running back, kind of more in positional designation, but at least the Packers have shown a willingness to get him on the field and try to get him the ball. Even going back into their playoff games last year, I mean, you actually saw this guy getting legit touches in the biggest games of the season. So Dexter Williams has all of 5 carries, in 2019, none this year. I just don't think we have, any sort of certainty with Dexter and Ervin, and what we figure to be a pass first attack should be the lead guy there. And then with Hasty, look, it's taken 3 injuries, but here we are, JaMychal Hasty, early down season with Jerick McKinnon and his, tired legs and just kind of being used primarily on pass downs. I know he got the goal line touch, but it would be surprising to see McKinnon out touch Hasty in the spot. So nobody's allowed more fantasy points per game. 2 opposing RBs, and the Packers fire up Hasty and Ervin in lineups of all shapes and sizes.
You want to get rid of me and get back to more great PFF YouTube content? All you have to do is push that button right there and subscribe. Thanks for watching.